Commons Standing Committee on Government Operations and Estimates, aka OGGO. We'll go from 11. Apparently there will be a vote today at 1 o'clock. I'm thinking everyone's agreement that rather than break when the bells go at 12:30, because we're in the same building, we'll go right up to say 10 to 1, and then we'll adjourn at 10 to 1 and go vote. If everyone's in agreement, I'll take that as yes. Thanks very much. First hour, we have Minister Fortier for 1 hour, then we'll have Treasury Board officials afterwards. Minister Fortier, welcome back. I understand you have a 5-minute opening statement for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and congratulations on your new role presiding over this very important committee, and welcome to the other new members to this OGGO committee. And it's a pleasure for me to appear this morning to discuss Supplementary Estimates B 2022-2023. And of course, before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge that we are here today from the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabeg people. As you can see, I am with my senior officials from the Treasury Board Secretariat, Annie Boudreau, Assistant Secretary, Expenditure Management Sector, Karen Cahill, Assistant Secretary and Chief Financial Officer for the Treasury Board, Carole Vidal, Associate Assistant Deputy Minister, Employee Relations and Total Compensation, Monia Lae, Assistant Controller General, Financial Management Sector, Samantha Tattersall, Assistant Controller General, Acquired Services and Assets Sector, Kelly Acton, Assistant Deputy Minister, Policy and Performance Sector, and Paul Wagner, Assistant Deputy Minister, Strategy and Transformation. I am very glad that they are here with me, and I want to thank them for their hard work. Vous savez,
well, these supplementary estimates present information on incremental spending requirements, as you know, which were either not sufficiently developed in time for inclusion in the main estimates or have subsequently been refined to account for recent developments. Given that many initiatives were not sufficiently developed in time to be included in the main estimates, this exercise was smaller, nevertheless, than the main estimates be. Taken together, though, the amounts that have been approved in the two budgets are in line with what we have here. I thought it was important to begin with that. As you know, this fall, the government is asking the Parliament to approve $20.8 billion in voted amount for 7 organizations in order to solve important issues important to all Canadians. And the Supplementary Estimates B also shows that the statutory amounts, $7 billion, this is a single amount to the Canada Health Transfer, which is a transfer to provinces and territories that was carried out this year. Mr. Chair, the amounts in this supplementary estimate are higher than what we're used to. Most of this is due to Indigenous claims, to agreement settlements, and to investment in infrastructure for Indigenous communities. And I would like to give you a brief overview of some of the principal amounts that are being requested in this year's Supplementary Estimates B. For example, supplementary amounts are required by Indigenous services and Department of Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs. These amounts are to handle the statutory requirements to settle cases. Some of the land claims from Treaty Number 8, First Nations as well, and a certain amount for claims for child care and compensation for ill treatment and compensations for regulating some of the Indian school issues. Moreover, Mr. Chair, a certain amount for housing in First Nations, autonomous First Nations. those which have signed modern treaties among the Inuit as well. So these are some of the key amounts. A 1.5 billion for public safety and emergency preparedness as well, for financial assistance in cases of disaster. And this is supplementary amounts for provincial and territorial governments, allowing us to cover, for example, the catastrophes in BC, like the flooding and the mudslides of 2020, as well as the fires and in 2021. I've nearly finished, Mr. Chair, if I may. An amount of $722 million to the Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development to help developing countries access vaccinations, treatments, and diagnostic material to fight COVID-19. And I could continue, of course, giving me further details.
Mr. Chair, open, transparent, and accountable government means ensuring that parliamentarians and Canadians know how public funds are being invested on their behalf. And this is why, in addition to estimates documents, we continue to make use of reporting tools such as GC Infobase and the Open Government Portal. And these tools, of course, present easy-to-understand information to Canadians about the authorities that are approved by Parliament. And, Mr. Chair, these estimates demonstrate our government's ongoing commitment to Canadians' priorities at home and abroad. And, of course, I will start by thanking you again and be ready to take your questions.
Thank you, Minister. Ms. Kusi for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and merci, Madame.
And thank you very much, Ms. Fortier, for being with us here today. I know that we're all dealing with partial elections, but I know that we're here specifically to deal with a supplementary estimate.
It's great to see such a power group of women. Sauf Monsieur, I can't see your name. I'm sorry.
Mr. Wagner.
Or whatever. But anyway, we really appreciate you coming here today to discuss the supplementary estimates. But of course, I'm a little bit troubled. Inflation, of course, is at 6.9% right now. The numbers just came out again last week. And this is, of course, from the low of 8.1% that we saw in June. And there are certainly many discussions internationally about the reasons for these high inflation rates that we're seeing. We see, of course, the price of oil increasing as a result of the war in Ukraine, coming from the prairies, Alberta. I'm always very interested in the price of oil. And, of course, we're understanding that it's a result of China and supply chains. But many economists, including John Hartley and John Cochrane, who wrote this article I'm referring to here, as well as one of my favorite, Jack Mintz, agree that the main cause of this inflation crisis that we're seeing here in Canada is inflationary spending. And you, Madame Fortier, are responsible for the spending for the government of Canada. So wouldn't you have to say that you are responsible for the inflationary crisis that we're seeing now as a result of inflationary spending, and your responsibility as President of the Treasury Board overseeing this?
Well, thank you. And again, congratulations for being at this committee and for your new critic role. As we know, in the last 2 years, we've been through a very important pandemic, and there was disruption in the whole world. This is a global issue that we're facing with. And we have to say Canada did step up, and we should be proud of where we are, but we also know that people are struggling in Canada, and the cost of living is something that is top of mind for Canadians, and we also have this top of mind, and that's why we've done targeted investments just in the last few months to make sure that Canadians can have the support they need to go through the difficulties that they have right now, such as we have the double credit for GST, and Canadians started to receive their checks 2 Fridays
I think we're
ago.
familiar with the
I
benefits.
know, well,
thank you
that's
very
why
much.
I'm very proud to say that
but one
we
of the
are
key
looking
mandates, Minister Fortier, of the Treasury Board is effective management of the public purse, providing guidance so that resources are soundly managed across government with a focus on results and value for money. And if the public purse was managed effectively, we wouldn't be seeing the massive inflationary spending by your government, resulting in inflation rates that we haven't seen in 40 years. Wouldn't you say that's accurate?
Well, we are continuing, and I think that you can see in the supplementary estimates how we are producing and showing Canadians that we are soundly managing our government's purse and supporting Canadians in
Unfortunately,
many.
the subtitle is provided by the Parliamentary Budgetary Officer is why the government wants another $21 billion. It's not very flattering, Minister Fortier. And if the Treasury Board was in fact meeting its mandate of effectively managing the public purse, if there was no effective oversight of the billions of dollars this government continues to shut out, resulting in higher inflation, can you not take responsibility for that, Minister Fortier, as the individual who is responsible for overseeing the public purse, which economists agree is responsible for the inflationary spending that we're seeing and therefore the high inflation rates? Can you take responsibility for that?
Well, again, I'd like to demonstrate the fact that in the last 2 years we've been in this very difficult pandemic. It has disrupted supply chains. It has disrupted also cost of living. We know inflation is high. Our country is in a better position than many other G7 countries. We have also made sure that we are bringing targeted supports to help those vulnerable Canadians that are having a hard time right now, and we will continue to monitor. I'm working closely, of course, with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance to make sure that what she has brought forward in the budget, we are spending it accordingly and having the necessary authorities to make sure the departments are moving
and
forward.
what she's
with
brought
results.
forward, Minister Fortier, is $6.1 billion of new spending and a $36.4 billion deficit this fiscal year alone. Now, the Parliamentary Budgetary Officer was actually being kind when he said $21 billion because your government, of course, is actually asking Parliament for another $25.78 billion. So why hasn't the government adapted the pay-as-you-go model, or why haven't they looked at it until this point, do you think? I know that finally the Deputy Prime Minister is starting to consider this. She's mentioned this to your cabinet. Why did it take so long for you and the Deputy Prime Minister to consider the pay-as-you-go model?
And a very brief 20-second answer, please.
Thank you, Chair. As I say, we are showing today in the budget estimates that we are looking forward to Parliament adopting this so we can continue the work to support Canadians in all of the amounts that are in front of us today.
Ms. Thompson for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and certainly want to welcome the Minister to committee and certainly your support within the department. And I'd like to fall back on questions, Minister, that you answered the last time you came to OGGO, and really the ongoing support for public sector workers. And to begin, could you speak to the whether any agreements with the bargaining agents have taken place, and certainly any updates there?
Thank you. And as you know, we are continuing in current negotiations with 27 different tables. One of them, very glad to say, with ACFO, which is the financial officers. We have a tentative agreement on collective bargaining, and we actually have a tentative agreement with this group of 6,500 public servants. And we did, I think, a very good job together to have representation to what taxpayers will accept, and also making sure we recognize the hard work of these public servants. And we will continue, of course, to work with all the other tables, because we have public servants that have been reliable and working with our government, and we will continue to do these negotiations together.
Minister, would you update committee, please, on the work to protect whistleblowers?
Oh, yes, of course. That is a very good question, Joanne. Miss Thompson. As you know, I just need to get to the Whistle Protection Act that, I'm going to start over. Our government, of course, believes that those who disclose serious wrongdoing need to be protected. And the law provides a secure and confidential process for disclosing serious wrongdoings in the workplace and protection from acts of reprisals. Public servants, disclosures result in an average of 10 findings of wrongdoing every year. And you know that Canada's whistleblowing law is part of the recourse options that cover harassment, discrimination, labor grievances, and privacy complaints. And our government is supporting with some training, monitoring, reporting on policies, on workplaces, and harassment. And Budget 2022, as you probably recall, funded a review of the Act, which will begin this year. And I'm pleased to say that we're currently finalizing on the panel that will help us do this work. Therefore, very soon, I can say that we will be doing that review. Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you. And would you please provide information on why the International Bar Association ranked Canada's whistleblowing protection last?
Pardon. If I can, if you don't mind, I can answer that one in French so I can balance things. Vous savez.
Well, as you know, the International Bar Association, as you said, classified Canada's protection for whistleblowers quite low, and you're asking why. You know, this report makes a lot of mistakes. It doesn't take into account the fact that the constitutional separation of powers in Canada prevents the Parliament from imposing a plan for whistleblowers on other provincial and municipal governments and on most of the private sector as well, which reports to the provinces. Nor does it take into account the whistleblowing plans and styles of the provinces and territories, nor does it take into account other mechanisms available for handling wrongdoings. For example, it's really a report that makes a number of errors, and we are very proud of what we are offering Canadians and to civil servants.
Thank you. And actually, in bilingualism, how are we improving support for bilingualism among public servants? And why is that so important?
Well, that one, I can tell you, is very important, and we have to be proud of our of our official languages and how our public servants serve Canadians from coast to coast in both official languages. We have been really effectively delivering those services, and as you know, we are currently revising and modernizing the official Languages Act, which will give the Treasury Board, when it is passed, a new role to be a central agency, to be able to evaluate, to able to monitor better the work that has been being done with the departments. The other thing is that we, of course, will continue to develop different tools, such as training tools and ways to make sure that new second language training is offered to public servants to better serve Canadians. So that is another highlight of the work that we're doing at Treasury Board.
I'm afraid that's time. Ms. Vinola, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the supplementary estimates, the expenditures of the government 2022-23 are 19 point something billion dollars more than in the prior year, which is a 4.6 12% rise. It can be broken into three parts: 1/3 for the 2022 measures, one for reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, and a third for new measures approved by the government outside the usual federal budget mechanism that led to the fall economic statement. We're all aware that the supplementary estimate does give us information about expenditures that couldn't be specified in the prior budget. We're also aware that the supplementary budget is brought in after the public accounts are already laid out, also taking care of lapsed funds, reprofiled funds from the prior fiscal year or fiscal session. So $1 out of $10, by the way, is lapsed, wasn't used. In 2021, for example, the amount of lapsed funds was pretty much double prior years. Of course, the lapsed funds for health has been due to the uncertainties, for example, of COVID-19, and it was probably more intelligent to vote in more money than was needed. So some of that, of course, had to be reprofiled. That was a period of crisis, fine. However, and this is the issue, no information was provided about lapsed funds for other departments, nothing to do with the pandemic. These explanations should be in the reports of each department, the corporate reports. So that is my long introduction. I've got two questions. Why didn't you explain, or someone explain, why some of the appropriations were not used and led to lapsed funds, and why wasn't that reported? Why weren't departments forced to report on that in detail? And why is it that some of the departments are not spending funds that they have appropriated? Whereas what we hear, the needs of each department is very considerable. They have all these needs, but look, they've given funds and they're not used. The funds are lapsing. Why? And why isn't this laid out in a transparent fashion? Before I turn the floor over to our civil servants here, so that they can give you specific details about those questions, I'd like to thank you for putting the question, because we do know that over the last few years there's been a great deal of pressure on the government. And of course, the departments are trying to use their appropriated funds, but we know that there are a number of pressures linked to supply chains, so legal issues surrounding that. And this is one of the explanations why all the information isn't yet on paper. But I'll let Annie Boudreau give you a few examples and provide you with more information. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, indeed. In the report that you mentioned, there are $12 billion in lapsed funds, specifically in the health portfolio. As you mentioned, this is mostly due to the uncertainty in the COVID period. There's another amount of $1.3 billion for settlements with Indigenous peoples. And once again, can't know exactly what dates will be ratified by the communities so that you know exactly when you'll use the funds. So another reason for reprofiled or lapsed funds. There's also infrastructure, capital infrastructure, lapsed funds that can sometimes be due to delays in the far north, for example. It's not always possible to go ahead with all projects that were hoped for, given that the building season is so short. So then you have some lapsed funding. Another contributor is delays in what is undertaken. For example, Indigenous Services Canada, given that they couldn't go into the communities during the COVID period, they couldn't help organize the spending of funds. And also, the Treasury Board, $1.8 billion. When central funds are not used, they are lapsed, and then you have to go back to Parliament actually to ask that they be revoted. So we have 12 point some million for the COVID-related, and then we have the Indigenous issue, infrastructure 5 point some billion for the delays. The last element I mentioned 5 point some million, and for the central votes 1.8 billion, which need to be reappropriated or put for appropriation. There's also a certain amount going for immigration, 102 million, supposedly for plans to increase levels of immigration in the years to come. So how much of that is going to the Roxham Road project? Once again, thank you for this question. I know that Department of Immigration, and will be in a better position to answer your question than I will. So if I may, I will suggest that we get back to you with a specific amount, a breakdown of that amount. Thank you. That would be much appreciated. The Governor General has been in the news for a number of months, given the amounts allotted to her. 65 to 75 million dollars, depending on the source that one uses. So, in this supplementary estimate, is there a increase in the amount allotted to the Governor General?
Revisit it at your next round. Mr. Johns for 6 minutes, please. You're on mute. You're on mute, Mr. Johns, maybe?
Oh. Hello?
We can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry. Minister, last week, Lana Payne, the president of Unifor, Canada's largest private sector union, said the governor of the Bank of Canada has basically declared a class war on working people in this country. The governor has advised employers to suppress wages and is pushing for a rise in unemployment to slow inflation. Now, collective bargaining with several bargaining units is continuing against this backdrop, and public service workers have delivered for Canadians throughout the pandemic. And in the face of high inflation and uncertain economic times ahead, they're looking for wages that will allow them to make ends meet and for job security. As a major employer, the federal government sets an example for employers right across the country. Now, at the bargaining table, the question to you is, will you be taking the advice of Mr. Macklem and suppressing wages, or will you be offering workers a fair deal?
Well, thank you, Mr. Johns, for your question. Our government is committed to reaching agreements with all bargaining agents that are fair and to the employees, and they're mindful of today's economic and fiscal context. And of course, you know that we bargain at the table, not in public, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, our offers take into account other collective agreements in the country, also our ability to attract and retain highly qualified employees, and of the terms and conditions of employment in other workplaces and responsible fiscal management. We will, of course, make sure that there's fairness for the employees and also for taxpayers.
Okay, thank you, Minister. We want to make sure those employees can pay their bills, and it's meeting the rate of inflation. Now, the supplementary estimates B proposes a transfer of $235,000 from the National Research Council of Canada to the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat to support the implementation of a buy clean secretariat for federal procurement. Now, the development of a buy clean strategy appeared in the mandate letters of the Ministers of Intergovernmental Affairs, Natural Resources and Public Services and Procurement, but not the mandate of the Treasury Board President. So despite the strategy being tasked by 3 ministers, there haven't been obvious signs of progress. A buy clean strategy has broad support from industry, labor, and the environmental community as a way of reducing emissions and generating economic benefits at home. Can you please, explain what the Treasury Board's role in developing the strategy will be and how $235,000 will move this forward in a timely way?
Well, thank you for your question again, Mr. Johns. Before I turn it to Sam for defining the $235,000, I do have to tell you that I have the privilege in my mandate to work on greening government and making sure that we reduce our footprint across the country with our infrastructure, with our vehicles, and I have, and I would like to present to you the plan that we have currently with the Center for Greening Government and also my team. When you have a chance, we are reducing our footprint right now, and we will continue to do so. I'll ask maybe Sam if she can give precision on the exact amount that you were sharing.
Yep. So within Treasury Board Secretariat, there's a greening government secretariat. So it's about greening federal operations. And so the transfer from the NRC to Treasury Board is for 2 full-time persons who will support the development and implementation of green procurement standards and supporting guidance on low embodied carbon materials, so like carbon and steel, that we use during the construction of our buildings, et cetera. So it's about greening government ops.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, Minister, your colleague, the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction, said in September, the government is moving towards a regulated, safer supply of drugs in response to the toxic drug crisis. However, to date, the government has only supported small-scale pilot projects, while thousands of Canadians die every year, including in your riding, because of the contaminated supply. And now the Conservative leader is spreading misinformation that safer supply is a failed experiment. The Substance Use and Addictions Program is significantly oversubscribed. Just found out on a question on the order paper, the first call for proposals was only able to provide funding for 11.8% of what was sought, while the second call for proposal provided 17% of funding sought. That funding goes to a range of programs related not just to safer supply, but also prevention, harm reduction, and treatment. In light of the funding shortfall, has the Minister of Health sought any additional funding to support safer supply programs from you?
Thank you for your question. And of course, toxic drug and overdose crisis continues to take a tragic toll on the families, loved one in our communities, and especially, as you mentioned, even in my riding of Ottawa-Vanier. Our government is and will continue to use every tool at our disposal to work with our partners to end this national public health crisis. As you know, since 2017, our government has invested more than $800 million to address the overdose crisis, and we're continuing to take concrete steps to divert people who drugs away from the criminal justice system.
That's not answering the question,
Minister.
Minister.
Sure
and
that
I'm afraid that's time as well.
Merci,
Perhaps we
monsieur.
can get back to the next round. Ms. Kusi for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I'm not sure who defines misinformation, but I'll continue. Minister, of course, we're both working mothers. We're both very proud to be working mothers, and of course, as we ease out of the pandemic, we are seeing still the implementation of the hybrid model within the federal public service, something that I'm not necessarily opposed to, but I'm wondering about the effects of vacancy rates as a result of individuals working at home. Do you know, would you have an idea as to what the current vacancy rates are for buildings in the National Capital Region at this time as a result of this, please?
Well, first, thank you for your question. And as you can imagine, our public service is no longer in a remote by necessity approach, but by a hybrid by design approach. And of course, with the departments, we are monitoring how we will continue to deliver services to Canadians. And to do so, we are, of course, looking at how public servants can better offer those services, and hybrid work is something that is here to stay.
It is, Minister. I was asking specifically about the vacancy rates, if you're aware as to what they might be. And then I was going to do a follow-up question as to the operating costs on a daily basis for the buildings in the National Capital Region, so that perhaps we could ascertain, based upon vacancy rates and then the operating costs, the perhaps amount of money that could be better utilized by evaluating these working spaces. But I'll go back then to employees, since we were talking about the type of work being done in the federal service currently. I'm sure you saw the story that there were, as reported on, Kevin Page, who of course is the previous parliamentary budgetary officer and is now at the University of Ottawa, indicated that last year 19,151 new jobs were added. This of course means that the public sector is growing faster than the private sector, and yet the results that Canadians are getting really aren't indicating the benefit of having hired so many individuals. For example, ESDC added 8,500 new positions, but saw disastrous record highs for passport delays, delaying thousands of Canadian travelers this summer. Of course, everyone knows about Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. They hired 1,750 new people in July, and yet they had more than 2 million applications in their backlog. And this is prior to the new 500,000 individual targets being set. So I'm wondering, Minister, how the Treasury Board will consider value for money going forward, given that there's been an incredible investment in the public service, greater than that of the private sector, and yet we're still not seeing the results. What are you going to do about that?
Well,
please?
many questions in your statement right now, but I'll start by saying one thing. The federal public service is about 0.84% of the population, the same as 2010 under the Harper government. So at this time, if we look at it, it's the same, about the same
Is that
proportion. Thank you. And our government is really focusing on delivering support for Canadians who need it most, while responsibly managing public funds. New vital services like CERB and CEWS were clearly something that Canadians appreciated and helped them go through COVID, and that we needed public servants to adapt quickly those programs and offer them to Canadians. And also we have to say that our government is continuing to look at how we can better offer our services. We have reduced the backlog for the passports issue that we had this summer. Yes, we had to find innovative ways to offer the service that Canadians rely on. Passports, for example, we opened new offices across the country. Even one in the Yukon is now, in Whitehorse, is now open. So
brief. So I'm just going to move on then to some other questions of waste. So, for example, the federal government racked up a total of $227.1 million in lost revenue, public money, and public property due to fraud, accidents, or offenses in 2021, 2022. This is according to an article by Laura Reichwart. What are you doing to address these lost revenues, public monies, and public property lost due to fraud, accidents, or offenses in the last fiscal year? Minister, please.
And I'm afraid I'm going to have to interrupt again, as seems to be my habit in this meeting. We are out of time, perhaps for next time. Mr. Baines, over to you for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the Minister for joining us today and providing these answers, and of course to the Treasury Board Secretariat. The region I come from, Richmond, British Columbia, our coastline is very important to my constituents, and we have the largest commercial fishing harbor in Canada. We also have the Ocean Legacy program here, which is the only one of its kind where plastics are removed from the ocean, turned into little plastic beads, and they go back into the circular economy. So my question is really around the recent Ocean Protection Plan announcement, and I was participated in just the other day for the next phase of Ocean Protection Plan funding. And can you speak to the $196.3 million allocated for the Ocean Protection Program in the estimates and how it will protect our coastlines?
Well, first, thank you. Glad to see you, MP Baines, today online. Thank you for participating. As you know, and I think you will confirm that Canada has the longest coastline in the world, and coastal areas are vital to our economy. And of course, we're expanding our Oceans Protection Plan to strengthen protections for our coasts and wildlife, also improving marine traffic and incident management, and of course, advance partnerships with Indigenous peoples. Now, the funding will be used to position Canada's marine safety system and ecosystem protections to better mitigate the threats to Canada's oceans and also its users for the impacts of marine traffic, enabling supply chain resilience and also support economic growth. I hope that gives you an idea of how this investment will support our coastlines.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm just going to move on to, as you know, part of our government's efforts towards reconciliation is to ensure that 5% of the value of federal contracts are awarded to Indigenous businesses. I come from the traditional territories of the Musqueam and the Coast Salish people. And they're very actively involved in our economy here. So can you inform the committee of how the government plans to meet its targets?
Well, thank you. And as you know, we've been putting a lot of effort on truth and reconciliation, but also giving opportunities for Indigenous peoples to have better economic opportunities. And we are committed, of course, to create those opportunities for Indigenous businesses to succeed and grow. And by 2024, 2025, the minimum of 5% of the total value of federal contracts must be awarded to Indigenous businesses. Of course, the departments will report their performance through next year's departmental results reports. And I wanted to provide maybe an example. As of March 24, 2022, PSPC, PSPC had awarded 42 contracts worth over $197 million to self-identified Indigenous businesses in response to COVID-19. So it shows that there is a good proportion of Indigenous businesses being able to deliver different services. That includes logistics and air charter services, accommodation and cleaning services, IT professional services, medical and laboratory supplies, masks and hand sanitizers and thermometers, just to give you an example of concrete awarded contracts for Indigenous businesses.
Thank you. And Chair, do I have any more time?
You have 20 seconds, sir.
Okay, well, Minister, thank you very much for providing all of those answers and being clear with those. And I'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baines. Ms. Vinola, 2.5 minutes, please.
Merci.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So this supplementary estimates gets $3.8 billion funding for COVID-19 issues, up to 16 point something then for 2022-2023. Knowing that Canada has over 400 health centres with 1 to 5 people and hospitals of more than 5 people, of course, and that Canada bought a great number of respirators, and that many of those were unused. Do we have any information about that among the voted elements for these supplementary estimates? Because so many respirators, this is, many of them even for very small health centers of 1 to 5 employees, those I mentioned, so perhaps we overestimated what we needed. And if that is not included somehow as an amount in our funding, how is the government going to be paid back? What was purchased? What was excess purchases? And I'd also like to know why we spent so much for vaccinations that wound up doses that wound up, thrown out because they were past their due dates. Let's remember the 2 years of COVID. When it began, we had no idea what would happen in the years to come. So we absolutely needed to ensure we had sufficient resources to support the health and safety of Canadians through that crisis. Therefore, departments, with the approval, of course, of their ministers, wished to put Canada in the best position possible. So large investments were made for respiratory devices, for vaccinations, and other equipment that helped us save the lives of Canadians. And I think that we really do need to take into account the fact that we were focused on Canadians. That's clear, but how will we ensure that we're paid back for what has been left unused? And how is it that vaccinations wound up being thrown out? For what was purchased and was not used, that can't turn up in the supplementary estimates because these supplementary estimates are for funds that have not yet been voted. They will become proper appropriations once they're voted on by Parliament. So we would have to wait for next year to see where the items you've mentioned wound up.
Time.
But I would invite you to put that question to the Minister of Health, who may have information already in this regard.
Mr. Johns, 2.5 minutes, please.
Sure. Minister, you've said that government is now moving to a hybrid by design model. Can you please advise if any bonuses are being paid to management based on the number of employees returning to in-person work?
Well, first, I want to just reiterate the fact that hybrid work, of course, is here to stay, and we're working with different departments to make sure that we offer to Canadians the best services that we can. As for your question, I don't think that there is any link into bonus pays depending on a number of it's not something that is considered.
Just wanted to clarify on that. Now, I asked you a question. Has the Minister of Health sought any additional funding to support safer supply programs, like new money?
Put in the subspe.
Okay. Now, regarding, I mean, that's disappointing given the scale of this crisis, Minister, and I'm just going to continue to pressure your government to respond to it in the crisis that it is. The $800 million is far from enough, and it's inadequate. Now, in June 2017, this committee tabled a unanimous report recommending sweeping changes to the Public Service Disclosure Protection Act, which have yet to be implemented. Subsequently, Budget 2022 committed $2.4 million over 5 years to the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat to launch a review of the Act. Now, despite the lack of action on this file for years, the Assistant Deputy Minister, People and Culture Sector, recently put out a call for bargaining agent representatives to apply for 2 positions on the advisory committee for the review, with less than 3 business days notice to respond. Now, this hasty request raises questions about the quality of the review that will be conducted, and it has been apparent for years that Canada's whistleblowing protection regime is broken and in desperate need of reform. Now, however, the government is spending millions while existing recommendations sit on the shelf. Can you please provide some details on this new review and how it will deliver value to Canadians?
Short answer, please.
As I said earlier to another colleague, that we are currently bringing forward the names for the panel that will be working with us to do the review. And I have to say that the names of the union representatives have been discussed with the unions, and we will have that representation at that table. And we will be very soon starting that review.
Thanks, Minister. Ms. Blanc for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here, Minister Fortier and all of your departmental officials. We appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. Minister, Conservatives always understood that if Canadians were being asked to stay at home and businesses were being shuttered during the pandemic, that financial assistance would be necessary. However, I'm hearing daily from constituents who are waking up only to find out that they are being told they didn't qualify for the CERB payments, and they are now being asked to repay those payments. And my question actually is more towards the Canada wage benefit. The fall 2022 economic statement proposes to provide $4 billion over 6 years, starting in 22-23, to automatically issue advance payments of the Canada Workers' Benefit to people who qualified for the benefit in the previous year, starting in July 2023 for the 2023 taxation year. So my question to you is, did the Canada Wage Benefit go through the typical Treasury Board process? Actually, I have 3 questions. Did the Canada Wage Benefit go through the typical Treasury Board process? What has been the cost to Canadian taxpayers for recouping CERB payments, which people were ineligible for? And why are you now creating the same conditions with the CWB? Are you actually fine with potentially writing off $4 billion of taxpayers' money?
Bon, merci beaucoup. Thank you for the question and your questions. I will start with saying that the CEWS, or the Canada Wage Subsidy, was, I heard from many businesses, the most support to help them go through the pandemic, and it was a very good program that helped bridge them. To answer your questions, I understand this is a tax measure, so it doesn't go through Treasury Board authority. Do you want to just...
Yes, so if you look at part 1 of the Blue Book, it is clearly indicated that the Canada Child Benefit is legislated through the Income Tax Act and is considered an expenditure for government financial reporting purposes. Parliament does not authorize annual spending for this item or for any other tax expenditures or refundable tax credit. Thank you.
So that was for your first question. For your second question with the CERB, as we know, we wanted Canadians to have access to support as soon as possible. And when we sent those checks, we also mentioned that we would be auditing and making sure that it was used appropriately by Canadians. And that is what we are doing now, making sure that those that were eligible continue to, that they receive the CERB can, and those that didn't have the requirements need to, and it's the Canada Revenue Agency that is doing that work right now to make sure that those that need to reimburse do that. As for the CW benefit, that one I don't know if my officials have an answer at this time.
It's the same thing. It's considered tax measures. Accordingly, it's not part of the estimate that you are studying right now.
So I'll follow up with a question in regards to the mandate of the Treasury Board to oversee the spending of government and to ensure that taxpayers' dollars are being spent wisely and that they are getting the best value for the money that is being spent. Do you know what the cost to Canadian taxpayers has been for recouping CERB payments which people were ineligible for?
A brief answer, please.
The Canada Revenue Agency has that number, and we could provide it to you as a follow-up.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Block. Mr. Kuzmierczak, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Minister, welcome back to OGGO again. We always love having you here and getting your testimony. Your mandate letter includes accelerating the greening government commitments to electrify the entire federal fleet of light-duty vehicles by 2030. And you and I had an excellent conversation last week about the fact that in Windsor-Tecumseh, we build the award-winning Chrysler Pacifica hybrid minivan. And I'm very much interested in the greening government program for the fact that I would really dearly love to see more Chrysler Pacificas on Parliament Hill and in our fleets. And so I wanted to ask you if you can speak to the progress that we're making on the greening government program and specifically on the greening of the federal fleets as well too.
Well, thank you for that. And yes, of course, we are moving forward and actually making sure that our fleets are zero emission by 2050. But we are also wanting to make sure that we have the appropriate infrastructure also to make sure that those vehicles can be electric. Most of them, of course, we're focusing on that. And the one that you were sharing with me, the Pacifica, should be on our list of possibilities, of course, to invest in Canada. In my mandate, working with the Centre for Greening Government, we will continue to show the work and the progress that we're doing for greening government.
Okay, that's terrific, Minister. That really is heartening to hear. I want to shift gears just a little bit and ask you about how our federal government is advancing the inclusion of Canadians with disabilities as well too.
Thank you. And this is something that is actually very dear to my heart because in my mandate letter, I have been asked to commit to hire at least 5,000 new public servants with disabilities by 2025. And every organization, of course, as we know, need to embrace disability inclusion. And we are the largest employer of Canada. Therefore, we need to lead by example. And we're currently piloting also a workplace accessibility passport that is across 20 different departments. And this documents the employees' needs and track the workplace accommodation so that these employees no longer have to relitigate every time they have either a change in managers or advancement in the system. We're also, our government also created the Office of Public Service Accessibility and the first ever accessibility strategy for the public service of Canada. And as you know, we really need to create a workplace where everyone feels included, can be, of course, themselves and realize their full potential. And, you know, we still have a long way to go, but we are making some progress. And I even challenged my department, my cabinet colleagues to show how we can do that progress and make sure we not only get to the 5,000 target, but we need to have much, much more. And we have talent across Canada that we need to bring in.
Absolutely agree with you that we need to do more on that front and bring in the incredible talents that persons with disabilities have in Canada as well too. They can only benefit and improve our federal service. And so I wanted to ask you whether yourself or maybe the officials have an update on how we are measuring up in terms of that 5,000, the target of hiring the 5,000. Do we have sort of a timeline or an estimation of how we're doing on that?
So again, it's by 2025 that I have this mandate, but we are slowly doing progress. I think that maybe Carole would have more specific numbers, but I will tell you the mandate that I have is net new employees. So that 5,000 is not just somebody that is maybe in the system already. It has to be new employees. One difficulty that we have, many Canadians that live with a disability don't necessarily want to disclose that information. And therefore, we have to try different ways to demonstrate that we are focusing our efforts. So that is one challenge that we have. And I, of course, recognize that some people living with a disability don't want to, check a box. And I think that by working together and making sure that we find those opportunities for people living with a disability to feel that they can belong to the work of the Government of Canada is my objective. And I welcome parliamentarians of all parties and also, of course, senators to suggest with me how we can really move this objective.
You have negative 55
Okay,
seconds.
I will yield my negative time, my debt.
Minister, are you done at 1, or you be staying around for a bit more?
I am done.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today.
But thank you again, Chair, and I'm surprised you didn't ask me any questions, but I'm sure that next time you will. And please feel free to continue to talk to me about your experience and your expertise. Actually, you've been around this table for a very long time, and I know we can work with you. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. If you notice the twitch, that was me wanting to ask questions. We'll excuse the minister, and we'll continue on with our next round with Ms. Kusi, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Wow, Chair, the minister said she can work with you. I'm shocked knowing you so well. That's a real that's very high praise. Anyway, thank you very much, Minister, for joining us here today. Merci beaucoup pour être ici aujourd'hui. All right, I'm going to move on then to my questions for the department officials. So with the minister, I was having a conversation about inflationary spending and then, of course, about wasteful spending. And my topic today I would like to focus on with you is transparency. As always, I have a couple of articles in my hand. The first one is an article by Ken Rubin published in the Globe and Mail that says Access to Information Canada is broken beyond repair. This might in fact be how our fantastic chair has gotten a lot of his information through the years. The second article is by Tom Cardoso, also in the Globe and Mail. The title is Ottawa Cites Translation Accessibility Costs as Reasons for Keeping Documents from Public, something that we're unfortunately seeing with the ArriveCan investigation here as well at OGGO. So my first question for you then is, what role does Treasury Board play in ensuring that ATIP divisions in every department and agency are well-resourced and well-financed, please?
Good morning. So the Treasury Board Secretariat is the policy center for access to information and privacy operations across government, so providing everything from kind of policy guidance, instituting legislative change, such as the recent changes to Bill C-58, and then on through to community development and support, training, that kind of thing.
All right, and why are departments having such great difficulty maintaining adequate service delivery for ATIP requests? And what is the Treasury Board doing to fix this cross-department issue, please?
So there are about just over 200 institutions that currently fall under the Access to Information Act, and so that does include Crown corporations, and wholly owned subsidiaries, quite a variety of organizations. I think the most recently published statistics had the proportion of requests that were closed within legislative timelines at about 70%. And so there is work to do, and the Treasury Board Secretariat has been working with institutions really across government on everything from making available new, more modern processing tools to really transform what are quite analog and paper-based systems. Also on the tech front, standing up a new ATIP online portal, a modernized platform this summer, and as I say, moving to support the community through such things as a community development office launched earlier this year.
And do you feel that you are adequately resourced in an effort to deliver those new technologies that you're talking about? And what type of timeline would be looking at for the delivery of these to be made available for use?
The modernized ATIP online platform launched in July, and the vast majority of institutions are onboarded to the portal. There are a number of departments who are among the larger requesters that still need to come on board, but plans are advancing to have that happen. The procurement that has made available those new tools was completed again earlier this year and is available now to departments. Again, departments are making plans to avail themselves of that of those new tools.
Okay, so it would be safe to say then that you anticipate that there will be a day where you meet normal service delivery timelines for ATIP requests.
So it is a legal obligation for institutions to...
Well, it's legal, but it's not being met, unfortunately. One recommendation to improve the efficiency of ATIP requests is to publish requests on the website. In your opinion, why doesn't the government currently do that, please?
So currently, there are summaries posted in both official languages of all completed ATIP requests, and we have been working for a period of time actually to see what more could be done in terms of making available completed requests more broadly. But just to say that, as you will be aware, in the publication of all information, all government information online, ça doit être fait dans les deux langues officielles.
Must go in both official languages.
And thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Joari, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to the officials. I'm not sure who's going to respond, but I table the question. The supplementary estimate B 2022-23 are requesting $25.8 billion in voted authorities, compares to $2.8 billion in the supplementary estimates B for 21 and 22, and about $1.3 billion for 2021. Looking at the past 3 years, why there's such a huge difference between this year, last year, and the year before?
Thank you very much for the question. Like the minister was explaining at the beginning, this is a cycle. So as you know, we do table main estimates March 1st of every year. After that, we have supplementary estimate A, B, and C. So this year, supplementary estimate A was smaller than normal. So that's why we have supplementary estimate B this year, a big amount. It is $20.8 billion in voted authorities. I know that the PBO referred to 25, but the 25 does include statutory authorities. If you look at a sum of supplementary estimate A, B compared to last year, we are at the same point in time, the same level of expenditures. Oh, sorry, authorities.
Thank you. That was a great explanation. Okay, these supplementary estimate also include 25 Horizon items totaling nearly about $2 billion, of which 14 are Budget 2022 initiatives. What explained the high number of Budget 2022 initiatives structured as horizontal items?
So as I was explaining, a lot of Budget 2022 items are included in supplementary estimate B. It's a question of timing when the federal budget was released in April, and when it was time for organization to be able to define their implementation strategy and come to the Treasury Board in order to have access to the authorities. And you are right, we have 25 items, and there is a schedule that has been published the same day as the tabling of the supplementary estimate B. And as referred in the PBO report, 90% of Budget 2022, if we add supplementary estimate A and B, are included in the estimates that you have in front of you.
Great. You talked about PBO. By the way, great answer. You talked about the PBO. There was a note made in PBO that there is a discrepancy between the fall economic statement and the estimate B, and that discrepancy, it's a large amount. I believe it's in the $20 billion plus. Can you shed some light in why there is such a discrepancy, and how could it be explained to the Canadians who are interested in a very simple way?
Thank you so much for the question. In the book that I keep referring to, there is in section 1 a section called Comparison of the Fall Economic Statement 2022 and the Estimate. So basically, the big amounts I will explain the difference will be the employment insurance benefits. They are included in the Fall Economic Statement, but they are not included here because we don't need approval of Parliament for that. We have also the Canada Child Benefits that I was referring earlier to another question that is also not included in these estimates. And we have also what we call accrued accounting. So some of the expenditures or authorities have been included in another document. For example, in the Fall Economic Statement of 2021, there was an amount of about $20 billion put aside for Indigenous Services Canada for the ruling for family and services, for the CHR ruling. So this amount was included in last year's forecast, but only included in this year's main estimate. So all those adjustments, it is a timing difference, basically, and it is well explained on part 1 of that document.
Okay, thank you. I got about 30 seconds, and I'll be remiss if I don't ask about digital credential. So I believe that's going to go to Mr. Wagner. Can you give us what are your plans for the digital credential, sir?
Absolutely, thank you. We continue to evolve the digital credential program within the federal government. Some important pieces since the last time I've addressed this committee is we're moving quite rapidly with our provincial partners at establishing a national platform, a national framework for leveraging digital credentials. Many of the provinces are already using those digital credentials.
Mr. Wagner, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Understood.
Ms. Vinola, 2.5 minutes, please.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. My question will be for Ms. Boudreau. If that's the wrong person, by all means, just turn the question over to a colleague. When it comes to horizontal positions, $175 million are for helping Afghan refugees settle in Canada. And of course, there are many needs in this regard. 4 quick questions. What measures will be instated to support Afghan refugees settling in communities? So the $615 million, how it will be used, and what sums are set aside for Ukrainian refugees? What sums have been set aside for helping the illegal people coming in through Roxanne that are causing such a problem? And what will we do to ensure that the people coming through Roxanne will be better welcomed with specialized services that respect their situations rather than taking them in through police services and they're winding up on the streets? Thank you very much for your questions. I'd like to say at the outset that it's not necessarily horizontal positions where money goes for immigration only. There are other positions in IRCC, of course. So here, Ukrainian and Afghan immigrations and developing countries assistance and general measures. That's what we have. 600 and some million for immigration and settlement, and then support for Ukrainians. Then we have an amount to support resilience and the quick recovery of Ukraine, including humanitarian aid and help for moving. Back to the Afghans, we have an amount for establishing Afghanis here, including the resident visas and so on, and helping them on a legal basis as well as with the health services. When it comes to assistance for developing countries, we have 700 and some million to help people in these countries access vaccines and therapeutic treatments for COVID. We have 217 million to respond to the food crisis. Yes, I'd seen these figures as well. For Roxanne, are there any way to ensure that people no longer fall victim to illegal services trying to get them across the border and to ensure that they don't wind up in the hands of police and out on the streets? My last point, if I may.
Perhaps you can provide that to us in writing. Mr. Johns, 2.5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under Vote 1B, there is over $5 million in funding proposed for the Office of the Chief Information Officer to support the governance and oversight of digital initiatives. Now, last week we heard from the Chief Information Officer during our study of the ArriveCan app, and she spoke about Canada's digital ambition, which is intended to provide modernized and accessible tools for support service delivery in the digital age. Now, this document contains an appendix of related policies and directives, but notably absent is the policy on title to intellectual property arising under Crown procurement contracts. And under that policy, IP developed through work on a Crown contract by default must be owned by the contractor unless an exemption applies or Treasury Board approval is granted. Now, the rationale provided for this policy is to enable the commercialization of IP by the private sector. So in a brief the committee received from Professor Amanda Clark, she wrote this policy, quote, represents a clear recipe for ongoing lock-in to the vendors producing custom software for the government, reducing departments' ability to share and reuse resulting software, end quote, and recommended making Crown IP ownership the default. Now, if the government is going to be embarking on mission to develop new digital tools, ownership of the IP needs to be an important consideration. An analogy of the current policy would be the government paying someone to build a house, then giving the builder the deed so they can rent the house back to the government and rent the basement too. Well, any of the funding proposed by the Office of the Chief Information Officer or in Budget 2022 for the, quote, comprehensive strategic policy review be looking at this policy and the potential benefits of increasing Crown ownership of IP.
So maybe I'll just start and then I'll pass it to Paul. Just like for clarity, that policy is a policy of ISED. It is not a Treasury Board policy, so that's important, just context. And then maybe, Paul, I'll turn it to you in the efforts of OCIO.
Yeah, thank you,
Just
Mr. Johns.
briefly,
I think,
please.
yeah, one of the tenets and one of the digital standards that we have is developing in the open, and there are opportunities where we can use open source. We can work across departments and across industries, in fact, to develop software where the IP is actually out in the open and can be shared freely. That's one of our digital standards. There are cases, though, where commercial software is what is required to deliver robust services to Canadians and to Canadian businesses. And so it's finding that balance based on the type of solution that needs to be built that we make those decisions.
Thank you very much. That is our time. Ms. Block for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I want to ask a question that I think any one of you could answer. Does the Treasury Board provide guidelines for government contracts on, for example, sole sourcing?
Yep, so I'll take that question. So in terms of sole sourcing, it's very clearly defined in the government contracts regulations, Section 6, the circumstances under which you can sole source. So that would be low value, an emergency,
Yes.
National security, and then if there's only one sole provider. And so there is broader guidance that we provide on our directive to the community.
Thank you very much. So during the pandemic, the government had a number of sole source contracts. And I understand for the very reasons that you just outlined that those criteria were met for that sole sourcing. But it drew a lot of public scrutiny. And for example, we've recently been looking at the ArriveCan app. And we recently learned that several sole source contracts were provided to a small two-person IT firm who then subcontracted out the work. We have also learned that there is no way parliamentarians have access to any of that information about those subcontractors. So what this really means is that the government cannot be held accountable for how taxpayers' dollars are being spent. The other thing we've also learned is that by using a staffing firm, a large part, or certainly potentially a third of the costs of that contract are being paid to the firms themselves So they've contracted other companies that actually do the work, and they're taking between 15 and 30% right off the top. So I guess my question to the Treasury Board is, what has the Treasury Board done in reviewing what's happened during the pandemic to address this issue, and why are you insisting on a process that actually covers up how taxpayers' money is being spent?
So just generally, and so going back maybe to your specific example, departments, deputy heads are ultimately accountable for how they undertake their resources and how they decide to procure. If it's of a certain level, it will come into Treasury Board for oversight. In the specific case, the department had the authority, and they worked with PSPC and leveraged an existing procurement vehicle that PSPC had in order to act quickly at the time of the pandemic.
So who's responsible for that specific vehicle that they managed to leverage?
PSPC would have had a supply arrangement, and from my understanding, again, this is a question I think PSPC is here later this week that you may put to them, but my understanding is that was a supply arrangement that they had in place, and that CBSA leveraged that supply arrangement.
All right, thank you. How much time?
Just
Okay, I want to go now to departmental results. And we know that they are an important part of informing parliamentarians as to whether or not they should approve spending plan requests without any sort of amendment. Departmental results, we've not seen departmental results. They haven't been published and yet, and so we don't know what the results are for this past year. It is my understanding that Treasury Board has these reports and that they have not been published. Why haven't these departmental results been published yet?
Thank you for the question. Indeed, we have received some of the report that you are referring to. Once we receive those reports, we need to do a thorough quality assurance on them. And what we have noticed this year is there is some discrepancies sometimes between the French version and also the English version. Another element that is very important to us is the format that is being used in order to produce those reports. And I say why it is important because it's coming from a recommendation from the 15th report of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, whereby we were told that departments should be using the same templates to make sure that it is easier for parliamentarians to be able to do their review. So we are still doing quality assurance on those reports, and we hope to be able to table them as soon as possible.
Thank you.
thanks, Ms. Block. Mr. Kuzmierczak, you're up again, please.
Thank you. The PBO report identified that one of the largest items in the supplementary estimates is the contingent liability. And the report states that from 2016 up until now, we've seen an increase in contingent liabilities of 224%. I just wanted to ask if you can explain what contingent liabilities are about. And I also wanted to ask how that might relate to our government's commitment to walk the path of truth and reconciliation with Indigenous communities in Canada.
Thank you very much for the question, and I may tag with my colleague here. Contingent liability is an accounting term. As stated in the PBO report, if there is certainty that the Government of Canada will have to pay, and the number that is used is greater than 70%, and that we are able to estimate the amount, then we should recognize a liability. And that liability is recognized in the public accounts. So once the liability is recognized, so now it is a question of when that amount will be paid and how that amount will be paid. So when we have certainty on this, the department would come to Treasury Board Treasury Board will do its due diligence in terms of the money, in terms of making sure that the implementation plans are accurate, and after that, that amount will be included in the estimate, either the main estimates or any supplementary estimates after. Thank you.
Excuse me. And second part of my question is, how does that relate to our, again, our government's commitment to working with Indigenous communities and walking the path of truth and reconciliation?
It is 100% a direct link. So every time that we have an Indigenous claim, the objective is to make sure that we are giving them the money that we owe them. It could be a specific claims. It could be a out-of-court settlement. It could be a land claims. But the goal is obviously to I don't know the expression in English, mais de rectifier le passé, les erreurs du passé, et make
To repair errors of the past.
Entitled to.
So in situations, these were long-standing land or legal claims brought against the Canadian government that this government is working hard to resolve again with the Indigenous communities. Is that a fair interpretation of where these funds are being directed to?
It is a fair interpretation. As you said, they're coming from the past. They are complex. They're not always easy to estimate. Hence my comment earlier about the lapsing money. So we see in the public accounts 21-22, a lot of money that has been lapsed because of this, because the settlement has not been reached yet. But the money is there, protected, and when there is an agreement, we'll be able to pay for that.
So when we see an increase in contingent liabilities, an increase of 224% since 2016, since this government has really taken office in 2015, we're seeing many more of those claims being resolved by this government. Is that fair?
Yes, it is a correct statement.
Okay, terrific. Going back to my my question with the minister regarding the Greening Government Fund, if you can speak to how much funding has been released through this fund, for example, to promote experimentation or initiatives or programs in greening government. And I noticed that there was a line item, $50,000, that was included, a transfer from by the Privy Council and Canadian Security Intelligence Service to TB for this fund. If you can maybe speak to that as well, too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll start with your question with respect to PCO's contribution towards the Greening Government Fund. This is a contribution that departments that generate over 1,000 tons of GHG are required to provide to the fund. So the contribution from PCO is just their normal contribution towards any projects related to greening government. With respect to how much has been spent, I'll have to come back to you with a written answer on this one.
Mr. Chair, am I in the red again?
No, you've paid back 11 seconds.
11
Thank
seconds. Thank you very much. Okay.
We're going to go over to Ms. Kusi, but keep in mind it looks like we will be interrupted by the bells in about 2 or 3 minutes. But we'll continue on with your time.
Thank you, Chair. I've heard that before, that bells ring when I talk. I'm just kidding. Which kind of bells? Anyway, I'm going to go back to a question I asked the minister, please. Does the Treasury Board know how much it costs to maintain and operate every government building in the National Capital Region, please?
So thank you for the question. So PSPC is responsible for the management of office space. So I know that they're actively working with each of the departments to understand what their hybrid plans will be so that they can have a portfolio approach to what they will keep and what they may dispose of. But that would be a question that PSPC would need to answer as they're the general manager for office space.
Thank you. I always struggle with that. As the former consul for Canada to Dallas, Texas, I had the fortune or misfortune of Minister Baird coming to visit me at the time, and I shortly lost my residence thereafter. Anyway, so such can the case be. Does Treasury Board vacancy levels for office, does Treasury Board track vacancy levels for office space in the National Capital Region? I think you kind of addressed that in your last question there. And I was going to ask further questions about the cost to maintain and operate the space. Okay, I'm going to go then to some of the expenses as reported in both the public accounts and the supplementary estimates, and see if anyone can offer any insight as to these specific expenditures. $6,929 at Global Affairs Canada that resulted from the loss, theft, or misappropriation of cash receipts and petty cash funds, again, having come from that department for close to 15 years, I can well imagine. Any comments on that? Okay. The second one I wanted to mention was $8,500 to Rebel News for not allowing them to participate in the leaders' debate. As a conservative, I have to admit, I'm not the biggest fan of Rebel News myself, but we always talk about a fair and democratic system, so that's very interesting to me that they sort of received hush money from the government, so to speak. $149,712 to the Department of National, on behalf of the Department of National Defense, to Enterprise for damage to rental of vehicles. Any insight as to this expenditure, please?
Well, what I can provide as information is that through the Public Accounts Volume 3, you can see all of the amounts that were paid out. And as every year, there are situations where vehicles get damaged or property. So we are committed to having full transparency on this and good internal control so that you can all be aware of exactly what's happening. For more details on this specific request, it would have to go to the ND.
Thank you very much, Madame Leahy. I hope my counterpart, Michael Baird, is listening to this. $191,414 funding for legal services out of the Privy Council office. Any commentary on that at all? Okay. $1,439,398 for the recovery of for payment of parking tickets out of CSIS, out of the intelligence service. My goodness, intelligence work is expensive parking work. Any commentary on that, please?
Again, the internal control framework in the department ensures that the proper controls are in place, and for specifics on the whys of the parking tickets, reimbursement would have to go to the department.
Thank you. And finally, as my time is coming to a close, $21,675 from the Canada Revenue Agency, the amount not to be recovered due to employee fraudulently claiming travel, relocation, or overtime. So that's worrisome as well. Maybe, who knows, with the whistleblower legislation, maybe we'll see more of this. Maybe we'll see less of this. Thank you very much, Chair, for the time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ms. Kusi and Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I'm going to reference now the Supplementary Estimates B, 2022-2023. And in that estimate, it includes 5 measures from budget 2022. What percentage of the budget 2022 measures have been presented in supplementary estimates so far?
Thank you. And I'm going to be giving you a number that will differ from the number that you have seen in the PBO report, because my number is based on voted authorities and the PBO report is based on all, including legislative amounts. So as of today, if we include the main estimates, supplementary estimates A and B, around 71% of budget 2022 items or measures have been included in the documents for you to approve the authorities.
Thank you, and I appreciate the clarification. Do you expect other budget 2022 measures to be presented in subsequent supplementary estimates this year?
Absolutely. So the last one that we're going to be presenting is Supplementary Estimates B. It's going to be tabled in March of next year, and we are going to see probably some items coming from budget 2022.
Thank you. switch topics, and again, back to the last time you presented to committee, we spoke about Indigenous entrepreneurship. Are you able to give an update on what's happening on the file and in the work?
So in respect of the Indigenous 5%, as the Minister indicated, this is being implemented over a 3-year timeframe. We're just in the first year of implementation, and so we'll have the results after the end of this fiscal year. I can tell you we have been working ourselves with PSPC and with ISK in doing a number of things to support our procurement officers in undertaking those procurements, including new mandatory training and outreach. PSPC is updating its supply arrangements and standing offers so that we can have more existing vehicles that will go out and procure with Indigenous businesses. And our colleagues at ISK are taking steps working with Indigenous communities to build their capacity so that they can also participate in our procurements.
Thank you. And again, on a slightly different topic, could you explain why public accounts take longer to produce than provincial accounts?
Certainly. One of the main reasons is the size of the public accounts, where we have over 2,500 pages compared to the smaller reports in provinces. There's also bigger work for audit purposes, working across, it's the biggest audit in the country, so it does also take a bit longer for us to complete. And we do have a requirement to publish in multiple formats where we have to ensure accessibility that is not necessarily required across all provinces, for example. So is my understanding. So these are the main reasons to prepare. It takes longer to prepare. There's also when they can table. Some provinces can table earlier because they don't have to do it when the government is sitting. So that's also another difference.
Thank you. And are you able to give an update on where we are with the Phoenix pay system? Thank you.
Hi. So with respect to the Phoenix pay system, we are continuing to ensure or work towards ensuring that every public servant is paid accurately on time. The government has implemented a series of measures and made consistent progress to address existing pay issues and minimize the emergence of new ones.
Sorry, Ms. Bedell, I have to interrupt for a couple seconds. The bells are ringing now. I just want to make sure we are in agreement that we'll continue along until 10 to 1, if we have everyone's agreement. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Bedell.
Absolutely. So the government is working to minimize, fix existing pay issues and minimize the emergence of new ones. In parallel, the government is also working with stakeholders such as bargaining agents, employees, and HR and pay practitioners to develop a flexible, modern, and integrated HR pay solution to meet the government's needs now and into the future. So progress is being made, and we continue to work to address it.
You have about 20 seconds.
Okay, I'll pass on, except the next question would have taken much longer, so thank you.
Okay. Ms. Manola for 2.5, please.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Again, my question will be for Ms. Boudreau. And once again, please pass it on to a colleague if you don't have an answer. But first, I have a compliment for you, Madam. You are able to answer our questions in both official languages, and you do so with ease. I can tell you that this is rare in the civil service. When someone puts a question in English, you easily answer in English, and when I address you in French, you do the same in French. Usually people find that more difficult to do, so I would like to thank you sincerely. Much appreciated. Difficult to say how much I appreciate this. As of some time, I get emails about the expenses of the Governor-General, expenses that citizens of Canada, not merely of Quebec, ask be reduced and be restricted with a ceiling. We know that some of the sums go to the Office of the Secretary General or provided by the Secretary General, but other funds come from other departments as well for the Governor General. Is there any way to reduce the Governor General's spending and to impose a ceiling on it via a committee or directly within a future budget? How would this be done? Thank you very much for your question. 2 points. First, the Governor General's budget is set by law. So it's a legislative or statutory expense that we have little control over. Part of it is also voted, as you see, in the main budgets at the outset of the year in March, and there is no supplementary amount granted here. But I can't give you much detail about your second question, but I'll be happy to get back to you about it.
Yes, Madam. Mr. Over to you, please.
Thank you. We know that the pandemic has created financial difficulties for many individuals and families through no fault of their own, and for some, their credit rating has taken a hit. And we also know that some groups, such as young people, women, and racialized Canadians, have disproportionately felt the economic impacts of the pandemic. Now, the Treasury Board has a policy that requires credit checks as part of background checks for employment. Has the Treasury Board conducted a recent evaluation of this policy to see if, maybe it may be exacerbating inequalities that have arisen during the pandemic, creating barriers to employment for equity-deserving groups and hindering recruitment to the public service?
What I could tell you, Mr. Chair, is that under the policy on government security is where the standards that are in place around security screening in government live within that policy suite. And we are actively looking at what that's a standard that actually dates back to 2014. And so it is under review and will be renewed in the months ahead.
Okay, great. We just want to make sure our concerns are relayed to you while you're doing that review. Last week, the Auditor General released a report with concerning findings about the government's ability to prevent, detect, and respond to cyber attacks. The report found that departments are confused about cyber security roles, and that 4 years after the Treasury Board directed departments to consider moving to the cloud, it had not provided a long-term funding approach for cloud adaptation. Can you please advise if any of the funding in the supplementary estimates B will support improvements to cybersecurity and assisting departments move to the cloud in a way that ensures the security of Canadians' personal information?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. So the findings, we accept the findings in their entirety, and I think much of the work is actually already underway. We've clarified some of the roles that departments have. You'll remember that I've spoken to this committee before talking about cyber as a team sport. So there are roles that departments have, that central agencies have. The money that you're talking about in terms of the supplementary estimates speaks to supporting the oversight of programs and projects. What's happening from the response to the OGGO report is to first to clarify the roles and responsibilities of departments, and second to establish a funding model that takes into consideration the very different funding model when we move to cloud. So when we use software as a service, when we use cloud services, it's very different than the way that we've funded programs and projects in the past. And so that's work that is underway. Thank you.
And that's your time. Mr. Johns, over to you, Mr. Baines, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is around the digital credentials. I know it was alluded to a little bit earlier as well, but can you inform the committee on your plans for digital credentials?
Absolutely. So as mentioned before, this is a national initiative that we're working with provinces and some private sector with. Some of the key tenets around digital credentials is that, A, they're voluntary. So this will be for Canadians that want to use digital credentials, they'll be able to. And again, I've given examples in the past where BC and Alberta have already instituted digital credentials, which are essentially digital versions of physical credentials that we have today. And the vision is that you'd be able to use these digital credentials to authorize and access Government of Canada services. So you could envision a day where You could use we're here today with one service, where you can use your BC Services card, which is online, to access Government of Canada services. What we want to do is to be able to establish that as a program, establish the standards across the country, so that we don't have to do it program by program and province by province, but there's a standards-based approach that can be validated. And once you've established that standard, and once you've actually validated that standard, you can then access the ecosystem to start to access government services. So we're working right now at consulting. Many of the provinces have already consulted with constituents, but we're also consulting with Indigenous communities, persons with disabilities, persons less fortunate, to ensure that as we roll these services out, that it in fact meets the needs of all Canadians.
Okay, thank you. And I want to go back to, I think this was discussed a little bit, but it was more, in my last question, I was asking about the Indigenous businesses, but our committee is currently studying diversity in procurement. And earlier this year, I met with the Supplier Diversity Alliance Canada that promotes inclusive procurement. So how is diversity and inclusion being advanced in the public service? And I might have a follow-up if I have time.
So in procurement or in the public service for your question?
Inclusion being advanced in the public service.
Okay, thank you. So there are a number, as you know, part of the minister's mandate letter is to advance diversity and inclusion in the public service, and there are a number of different initiatives that be undertaken. The minister did speak to a few of them in her responses. In addition to that, several initiatives like the Mosaic Leadership Development Program has been implemented, which supports equity-seeking employees at the EX-1 level to equip them with the skill set to enter the EX group. There have also been, the Speakers Forum has been implemented, the Federal Speakers Forum on Diversity and Inclusion, which is a dedicated speakers forum on diversity and inclusion, which has been co-developed with members of equity-seeking groups, that is giving voices to public servants who are interested in sharing their expertise, their lived experience, and their perspectives. The forum was launched in April of 2021 and has since posted profiles of 53 speakers online.
And I'm just going to jump in again. So my sort of follow-up on that is, I know we've had sports organizations in recent news and things like that. So how much does this, so if public service, you gave answers on that, but how much of it does touch upon diversity towards our sports organizations, and is there any impact that we can make there?
With respect to sports organizations, I think the Minister of Heritage is responsible for sports, and I think they would probably be in a better position to answer that question.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more time, Chair?
20 seconds.
Okay, I'll see my time there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Colleagues, thank you for agreeing to work through the bills. Seeing as we have about 3 minutes, I'm going to exercise Chair's prerogative and ask just a couple questions myself. Ms. Boudreau, I want to get to the DRRs. You sent out a letter, it was in May, advising November 1 submission. And then May, you also provided, the template was provided for departments in advance to use. So I'm curious why and the tabling date was for November 21st. So I'm curious why a letter that you sent out in May apparently has not been followed. The template was sent out, and yet you seem to indicate departments have not used the proper template. Could you provide us with that, but also provide us, I realize we won't have the time today, but in writing, which departments still have not submitted their DRRs? It's our primary role as parliamentarians is to vote on spending. I'm frankly aghast at the fact that we're being asked to vote on issues when we still have not received last year's results. This is an ongoing problem. Why is this happening?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. You are correct in the email that you referred to. Those are tentative dates. I obviously cannot confirm a tabling date.
Right,
so
but you provided the template in advance, and yet you're saying some departments do not use the template. using that as an excuse. You've also stated some departments have not submitted their information to you yet. Would you provide us, please, with, in writing, which departments at this date, 3 weeks past the cutoff, haven't provided it to TBS, but also provide in writing. You've said you've provided a template for the departments. Would you provide in writing to the committee what departments are not using that template or why we're still having template issues 7 months after your note from May? And I think that is our time, colleagues. Again, witnesses, thank you very much for appearing with us. Colleagues, again, thank you for agreeing to work through the bells, and we are adjourned.